Hello, welcome to Frustrated Book Purists, where we review film and TV adaptations of books. I am Sarah. I am the Youth Services Librarian here at Rehoboth Beach Public Library. So happy you decided to join us. As a side note, these are our personal opinions. It is not the opinion of the library, and we enjoy answering questions and passing along knowledge of what readers might like to read. Review informational, and we're hoping that you will find something new to read and watch and enjoy and so forth. So thank you for joining us. Today's review is of Yoshitoki Oima's A Silent Voice. Now, this is a personal favorite. It is a 7-volume manga series. For those of you unfamiliar with the format, Japanese manga are similar to comics or graphic novels in format. They are black and white on a flat paper versus the American graphic novels that are printed in color and are on a slippery and shiny paper. They are printed in the traditional right to left Japanese format, and but they have a very distinct style. So, moving on to our actual review, because it is Japanese in origin, I do feel the need to let you know that I did watch the movie subtitled with the Japanese audio. The DVD does have the option for English dub if you prefer that, as most DVDs do have that option now with anime or foreign films of any kind. But I do want to point that out. That is a preference of mine. Next time I watch it, I might watch it subbed and see if I like the English just as well or so forth. If you are unfamiliar with A Silent Voice, the manga series is 7 books. It's 7 volumes. It's a wonderful series. It is beautiful and heart-wrenching and poignant and really has a lot to offer as a book series. And I was interested in knowing how they portray that and how they get 7 books into one movie. And they did a fairly good job. But I want to tell you a little bit about the story before we get started on the review of the film. So A Silent Voice follows, the readers follow the 2 protagonists, Shoya and Shoko, and you meet them as 6th graders, and that is in the Japanese school system, that is their last year of elementary school. And Shoko is deaf. She wears hearing aids in both of her ears, and she knows a little bit of sign language. The teachers and the students don't know how to communicate with her the best. She does carry a notebook to write, but that can sometimes be slow and take time if someone is impatient or doesn't want to show respect. It can be a barrier to cross. So the students and the teacher also, and other teachers in the building, are disrespectful. They tease and bully Shoko because of her differences. And it's heart-wrenching to see her go through that because she doesn't fully understand what they are doing, oftentimes because it is vocal and she can't fully hear them. Some of it is visual or particularly painful. There is a scene where her hearing aids are ripped out of her ears, and it actually tears, and you can see the blood dripping. So the bullying takes many different forms. Like I said, they take her hearing aids, they rip them out of her ears, they throw them out windows, they crush them, and she goes through quite a few pair of hearing aids in a very short amount of time. They also write cruel things in her communications notebook, and they try to yell in her ears, like at different levels, to see what reactions they receive. And Shoya is the kind of leader of this, and particularly with the boys. But she gets it from all angles and all sides, and she doesn't. When she does find one friend in the classroom who is willing to take the time to learn sign language and help her out with the communications and so forth, she is then bullied and teased. So through all of this, Shoko at one point decides to transfer schools. And at that point, the teasing, the bullying is transferred to Shoya. And it continues in middle school when the former classmates say, he's cruel, he's mean, don't be friends with him. And then perpetuates even into high school and so forth. And so it is, by the time they've got into their senior year of high school, he is isolated. He doesn't have any friends. It has, his self-confidence has really taken a hit. His mental health has taken a hit as well. And one of the things I love about the series is the realistic look at teasing and bullying and how teachers and classmates and the people around you are affected and how you are affected. And it's just very heart-wrenching to see in this story. And Yoshitoki has done a very good job in that portrayal. And so you get that background of that school year, those few months when Shoko is in Shoya's class with, and you meet like his group of friends and some of the classmates in the class. And then there's a time jump to the beginning of their senior year of high school. So it's 6 years later, and you see senior Shoyo, who it has marked. He doesn't know any of his classmates' names. He X's out all of their faces. And you really see the isolation that he has put upon himself and has experienced from other students as well. And one of the themes of the series are mental health and bullying and hurt and how our lives are affected by those around us. But there's also suicide and how to deal with that, because both Shoya is preparing to kill himself. And part of that is apologizing, finding Shoko and apologizing to her. And that is where the true story begins, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't take that step. And you see their friendship grow and how he lets people into his life, back into, or first time, new friends into his life, but also how he and Shoko deal with the other classmates from that time, whether they are still angry about, or whether those other students still hurt them and still have an effect on them, or if they have changed. And it's beautiful. This is a personal favorite of mine. I have recommended it to a ton of kids here at the library, and it's just beautiful. I've spent way too much explaining the series, but it's just so beautiful. And all of that is portrayed in the movie. So the hardship with making that choice to end your life, the bullying, the hardships of communicating and how to communicate, and just not how to say how you feel, but how do you say how you feel when you can't speak and be understood? And how to learn sign language and how to communicate in a different method so that you are understood. And that's the beautiful thing about both the manga series and the movie. They highlight the hands and the sign language as much as they do the facial expressions. And the facial expressions are just as important with sign language, and taking the time to watch and listen. A silent voice is such a poignant name for the series, whether it's just translated and so forth, because there is no voice there, but you can still communicate, you can still learn, you can still develop relationships and friendships and become closer with family members and make new friends and repair old friendships. And that is the beautiful thing about both the adaptation and the manga. They take the time to show that. So it is a great adaptation of the manga series. This is a good thumbs up series. Highly recommend the film as well. It is beautiful to watch. It takes place mostly in spring and summer, and the greens and the pinks and the blues and the yellows and all of it really balance each other. And because they're kind of pastel or muted, it really allows the communication to show through and the emotion to show through. So that was one of the things that I noticed right away. And one of the things I was really looking for as well, because they do that in the manga as well. So they let the emotion on the face shine through and so forth. One of the things I really enjoyed was the opening or the introduction to the film as well. So they opened with the song My Generation. And one of the things was that Shoya and his group of friends are daredevils. They get bored easily, and they just, after school, they do crazy stunts, and then they spend afternoons playing video games and reading, and you get all of this kind of montage through that song and the opening credits. And it's such a great song to play during that time, because it really does explain Shoya and his mentality of being the daredevil, always looking for something new and always trying to be the best and the most fun and exciting, and not being bored with life and homework, like school and so forth. So then there is that stark turn in his life when he starts to get bullied and when he starts to bully Shoko, because he's well liked by everyone in the class. And you see his change through all of that as well. It does really do a great job with adapting as much as they can from the graphic novel series. Now, the one thing that I caught on to, and I don't know if I didn't like it or not, I can understand why they dropped it from the film, was one of Shoya Ishida's new friends from high school that he develops during this time of new outlook after he's reacquainted with Shoko is a film buff. And he recruits a couple of classmates and Shoya's old friends and Shoko and her sister to make a film for a film festival, a contest that he wants to enter. And so it is through that process that you get to be reacquainted with friends and classmates, and he gets to make new friends and new experiences. And they include everything that they do outside of that filming process. They go to the amusement park, they go out for ice cream or food during filming, they feed the fish at the pond, their meeting spots. Everything is there with the exception of how the filming. And at the end, that during the filming or the watching of that final product, you get to see a lot of their growth and how it affects them, and the story behind the film that he ends up making mirrors the series in a way, and some of the experiences that they've had during this process. And so it loses a little bit of its depth with that. And not that it's a bad thing, because you still have the depth and the growth of the characters through all of their experiences. But it was just left out. And I can see why, because it's about an hour and 45 minutes long, I think. Hour and a half long. So that was one little thing that they could take out that they probably saw didn't affect it. But I saw that ending part of the manga where they watched that film really affected me as a reader. So that's maybe not something that I didn't like, because I understood, but was different between the two. I think that's pretty much it. It really is a great adaptation of the series, because the growth and the emotion and the hardship and the learning is there. And that is what, when you look at the series, that is really what is important. That these students reconciled, these friends reconciled, they worked through their miscommunications, they grew because of that. And that's, when you look at this series, that is what you would want to see in the film. And that's what you did see in the film. So, thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the review, let me know below and in the comments. And did you agree? Did you not agree? Would you have liked to seen something different done with the film that was in the manga, in the series someplace? And we will see you again next month.